Okay, for this particular video, solving polygons, you'll need to download the formula sheet online. It will just be titled under the links as formula sheet. Okay, so for question number one, I want you to have your formula sheet ready to go, and we're going to read the first sentence. It just says the circumference of a circular patio is 75 feet. So right now, will you pause the video and try to figure out what formula you think you need for this problem? If you chose C equals 2 pi r, you would be correct. Now, it says the circumference of a circular patio is 75 feet. Now, that actually gives us C, which is 75, but I don't know what r is. Now, it's asking for the diameter, so we'll need to know that later, but r and the diameter are related. We just won't worry about that yet. Now the 2, the pi, and the r, they're all attached by multiplication. To undo multiplication, you must divide. I'm going to divide by 2 and divide by 2, and 75 divided by 2 is 37.5 equals pi times r. Now, to undo division or multiplication, we must divide. So I'm going to divide by pi, and I find that r equals 11.93. Now, radius is simply only halfway across. To find diameter, you need to go all the way across. So you take this diameter and times it by 2, and you approximately get 23.86. Now, it does want to the nearest foot, so that would be 24 feet. Now, give that problem a couple tries. Maybe try to solve it without the video, or if you need help, go back and solve it without the video later. Now, take a look at problem number 2. I want you to read the first sentence and see if you can figure out what formula you need to use. Pause the video now. The volume of a cylinder is about 170 cubic inches, so the formula we need is V equals pi r squared times h. Now, it gives me the volume, and it gives me the height. I'd like you to fill these in to the formula where you think they need to go. Pause the video. If you said 170 needed to go in for V, and a 6 needed to go in for H, you'd be correct. Now, we don't know what R is. It asks us if the radius was increased by 2 inches. Well, I don't know what the radius is, so I can't increase it at all yet. Now, to undo multiplication, I must divide. I'm going to start by dividing by the 6. Those cancel, and I get 28.3 equals pi r squared. Now, the pi and the r attached by multiplication. Let's divide out a pi, and you should get r squared equals around 9. It's like 9.02, but we'll just say 9 for this case. Now, in order to get rid of a squared, I must take the square root. Square root of 9 is 3, so that's what I get for my radius. Now, let's read starting at this part of the sentence. If the radius of the cylinder was increased by 2, that means I have to add 2 to my cylinder, or my radius, I mean. And so my new radius is 5, and the height remained the same. So my height is still equal to 6. What would be the new volume? Well, I need to get the formula for volume of a cylinder out again. I don't know what the new volume is, but what I do know is that R is 5 and H is 6. If you plug in pi times 5 squared times 6, you approximately get 471 inches cubed. Now, if you don't have a pi symbol, you can also use 3.14. Now, I'd like you to try problem number 3 on your own. It deals with area, and the formula for area is A equals pi r squared. Now, it gives you what A is. It gives you that is 20. This problem is very similar to problem number 2, so give it a shot on your own. And to double something means to multiply by 2. Now, for this particular problem, area of big minus area of small, you got to be careful of. It wants to know the area of the big, which is the area of a square. Look up that formula. And the area of the small is area of a circle, which is pi r squared. Well, it gives you diameter, so you have to take the diameter and divide it by 2 in order to find the radius. If you find this answer to be 1,197, you're pretty close. Now, on the other side, all of these problems deal with the Pythagorean theorem. Now, the sides of a small rectangular garden measure 12 feet by 16 feet. I want you to calculate the diagonal distance. Well, I drew a rectangular garden right there. You have 12 feet by 16 feet, and in order to find the diagonal distance, you have to go from this end and cut through the diagonal to this end. And what it creates is a right triangle. Now, if you look at your formula sheet, the only formula we have for a right triangle is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 12 is your a, and 16 is your b. Now, 12 squared plus 16 squared should give you about 400, or is 400. And in order to get rid of the squared, like we did on the last problem, take the square root. Now, c equals 20, and you know that length. And in this case, it is 20 feet. Now, for the rest of the problems, you're going to be using that formula. For this problem, the perimeter of a square around a square is 24 inches. Well, here's a square. It doesn't just tell me what the sides and length. These aren't 24. The perimeter is all the way around. So you got to figure out what each of these sides would be to add up to 24. Then plug those two numbers into a squared plus b squared, and you'll find your c squared. Problem number 7 is not too bad. Just remember your directions. If a ship travels 75 miles due east, that's straight to the right, and then it turns due south. The shape that they will create is a right triangle, thus using the Pythagorean theorem. That should be enough to get you through this worksheet, and just make sure you download that formula sheet.